Okay, so I forgot this scene, so I'm going to add it now. So I took the tire off. I used the jack to jet. First I unloosened the bolts on the wheel. Then I jacked the car up all the way. Then I took the lug nuts off. And then I also put this brace down under here. And I forgot to mention that because you always want to do that to make sure you're safe. So I like to leave the jack on and put that brace on there before I climb under here. Make sure you do that and make sure that you are safe. Okay, I'm about to do the brakes for the first time on my 2014 Kia Sportage. It is still under warranty. I'm not sure how this will affect the warranty, but I don't care. I've always done my own brakes and everything. So I do my procedures a little differently. So the first thing I did is I cleaned this off around the oil fill cap, or the master cylinder, excuse me, in the reservoir with, I just use Windex because I'm going to be taking this cap off and putting more brake fluid in there, and you don't want to get any dirt in there. And by the way, this is not a how-to video. This is just me doing it. I do my brake jobs a little differently than most people, and there's a lot of armchair mechanics on YouTube that want to tell you you're doing it the wrong way. I've been doing it this way for 25 years, never had a problem. There's another way you can do it, I'll show you, and I have had problems with that. So to do this, I have a good socket and ratchet set, and there's these two bolts behind the caliper that you need to take off. These are sliders. It's so the caliper can move back and forth. This happens to be a 14, so the first thing I'm going to do is take that off. I've already taken the wheel off. I've used the 13/16 and this old torque wrench that I no longer use to torque things as a breaker bar. And I've got a C-clamp here that I'm going to use to compress the caliper back. And when I do that a little differently than most people, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a hose from here to here, and I'm going to fill this old brake fluid bottle with a little fluid, and I'm going to run a hose from here to here with a little bit of brake fluid in it, so that it can't suck air back in there, because when I compress this with the C-clamp, I don't want to get air back in there. But I do it that way because I've had some soft pedals a long time in the past when I did this the other way, the traditional way that you see people doing it. So I just bleed the fluid out and I put new fluid in. Okay, and I'll try to talk real close to the camera so you can hear me. It's kind of a hard angle. Sometimes it's a little tight. So you're just going to take these off here. And that is tight. So there you have it. Here are your brake pads, your old ones. They're not too bad, they're not too low. What I'm getting is some squealing, so it's about time to replace them. Okay, this is the back pad. You can see on here that the groove is filled in here. It's actually getting low, so it's about time I change it. It's got this little squealer here. Hopefully you can see that, and it's designed so when the pad gets low it starts to squeal, and that's when you know you need to replace your brakes. Okay, I'm going to show you how I intend to do this, and then I'm going to do it without the camera because I need to pay attention when I'm doing this step. But to compress this back, you can put a pad there, and I'm going to use the C-clamp here to squish that back. But I'm also going to open this bleed valve, and I'll show you how I have that set up. Okay, I just want to show you what I did. I decided to take this off so I can move this hose around to take pressure off of it. And I put the bolt, I've taken the caliper off, and I moved it up, and I put this bolt back in here to hold the caliper while I do this procedure I'm about to do. Get this pad in here like this, and then I'm going to come back here with this C-clamp, and I'm going to put it in here like this. And I'm going to squeeze this. I have to be careful because there's a bolt back here that I don't want to bust, so I'm going to make sure that's right. The C-clamp is right on the bolt head, like this. Let me look for another place here. I'm not sure if I like that. Okay, I've decided it's okay on the head of that bolt, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to crack this and let this bleed out instead of forcing the fluid back into the caliper. And when I do that, there shouldn't be too much pressure on that bolt. It's the first time I've done this on this car, so wish me luck. Should be fine. I'll show you how I have this set up here in a minute. Okay, so hopefully you can hear me. So I'm going to take this old brake fluid jar that I have, sorry. I'm going to pour a little of this .4 in here. Maybe about 1/4 of an inch. Okay, so it's going to look something like that. I use the paint can to raise this up. This is a 1/4 inch fuel line I'm using. It's connected to this nipple. And I'm going to use a 10 wrench. I'm going to start to turn this. Excuse me. Start to turn this in, and at the same time I'm going to crack this open and let the fluid drain out into there. And I can't have the camera on while I'm doing this because I have to pay attention to what I'm doing, but you get the idea, I think. Okay, I guess I can't have the camera on, but I can't talk while I'm doing it. I have to pay attention. I'm going to loosen this a little bit. Oh, that's tight. There we go. So I loosened it and then put it back on there. So I'm ready. Okay. So I'm ready. Okay, easy as pie. Take a break. And again. Okay. Tighten that back up. Hopefully I didn't get any air in there. If I did, I will have to bleed the brakes, which I've done before. On the bleeder valve. Hopefully I got that back far enough. If I didn't, I'll have to redo that. So let's see here. Which one's which? Okay, this was the front. This was the back. So I think this one's the back because it has that little squealer on there. And this is the front. Let's see if they fit. Okay. So let's see. I'm going to take my bolt out. And I'm just going to set that right there. And I said this was the back. So let's fit it. Now we'll put some lube on it. Interesting. Okay. So this is the front without the squealer. Make sure this fits in here. Perfect. I'm going to put a little lube on there in these slides here. A lot of times I just don't do that, but I'm going to do it in this case just for fun. Okay, let's see here. So now that I've fit these on there, and they fit, so I'm going to clean these little tracks out, these little trays. And I'm doing that to keep them from sticking. I'll just use these. A nice old toothbrush would work well. Kind of get the dust and dirt out of there. Okay, so I'm going to use this sparingly. As I said, I normally don't use it. The idea behind this is to keep the pads from sticking, and if the pads stick, say on the top or the bottom, then you probably didn't hear that, that car went by. If the pads stick on the top or bottom, then the pads will wear unevenly. See, I got some gook on here. I got to clean that off before I put the pads back on. Use my multi-tool here because this didn't tear very well. So I'm just going to put a little in there. I don't want to get it on the rotor. In the back, just a little bit. It's good enough. Okay, so now I'm going to put these pads in here. I'm going to fit them in here. Oops, almost forgot. I got to clean that off. A little bit of gook there. And you want to do the same if you get your fingerprints on there. So there's a spring clip right here. Hopefully you can see that. So you put the bottom in first, and then you push that in there. So it's in there. Same thing with the back. Squealer on the back, so that when your pads get low, it makes noise and lets you know. Actually, the back looks like I have to put the top in first. There we go. So they're in there. Now hopefully I squeezed that caliper back far enough. So hopefully that'll fit right on there. And yes, it does. Great. So I'm going to take my bolts that I pulled out of here. I'm going to put them in there. Now, you look up the torque specs for these. That's your job. I don't want to spoon feed you all the information. And I'm going to tighten these. And I need to put this back on here. And then I'm going to put brake fluid in the reservoir up there. And I'm going to pump these back up. Okay, now, so this side is done. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to repressure this caliper by pumping up the pedal. And if I didn't get any air in the line, it should be a nice solid pedal. So here's your reservoir here, which I've already cleaned. It's up to max. I'm going to pump it up a little, and then I'm going to look at this and make sure it's not. Wait a minute here. I don't think that is on max. So I'm going to add some fluid before I even do that. And I've already cleaned this cap off like I showed you. I'm going to pull that off and I'm going to put fluid in there till it says max before I try to repressurize that side. Okay, so here we go. We're going to repressurize that side and see if we got a nice firm pedal. You always do this step with the car off. So you're going to do this very slowly. Just going to push it down very slowly. Then you're going to slowly let it come back up. You're going to do it again. Putting pressure back in that caliper, or fluid rather. Okay, I'm getting a nice firm pedal. I'm gonna, before I continue, I'm gonna go check that reservoir and make sure it's not low. It shouldn't be, but let me check. So it's still just under the max. So I'm going to just keep doing it, and then I'm going to come out and fill that back up. Okay, let's see. And I've got a nice firm pedal there. Should be fine. And what I'm doing is I'm looking for fade. So I'm going to push on it, and then I'm going to hold it there and make sure the pedal doesn't move. Because if you have air in your line, what will happen is you'll push it down, and initially it'll feel fine. But then as you keep pressure there, the pedal will sink. But I did a good job, so there's no air in the line. Everything's fine. Okay, now it's time for the real test. I'm going to take it for a ride, and we'll see how it does. Got a nice firm pedal with the engine off. See how it does. Stops pretty good. Of course, after you do the brakes, you always want to test it a little bit before you get out on the road. Don't want a surprise. You don't want to speed down to the stop sign, local stop sign, and then try to jam on the brakes. Of course, I've never had an issue. It's always good to check though, make sure. So I'm taking it out for a nice country little drive. I've had it up to 50 after my first gentle initial stops, and I put on the brakes pretty good, make sure it stops. I definitely don't want any surprises on my way to work tomorrow if somebody pulls out in front of me. Okay, and there was a good stop. And that was a good stop. It stops well. All the brakes are working great. So it's a done deal, done job. In the process, I lost my first ever bleeder valve cap. I've been lucky up until now, never done that. So I found one to jam on there in the meantime while I order new ones. But thanks for watching. I hope this is helpful. This was not a how-to video. This is just me doing my brakes. So if you find something useful, good for you, good for me. Thanks again for watching. Please subscribe.